Hello everyone and welcome back to another Batman Miniature Game 3rd Edition Battle Report Dog Cameo. Oh, she's off. Never mind. Today we have a 350 rep match between a jokey Joker crew, and you'll see more about what I mean in a moment, versus a pretty standard Two-Face crew, but it does feature his newest reinforcements, so we'll see how they perform today as well. See if they can help along his troubled objective deck, let's say. On the table layout you see before you, so without further ado, let's take a look at the specifics of the two crews. Alright, and here is the Joker crew as my dog is getting very anxious for... Oh, hello, yep, hi. Hi, I'm trying to talk about a Joker crew. She's literally jumping up on me. There she goes. Hello, bye-bye. Alright, sorry, as I was saying, Joker crew being led by the Cesar Romero Joker, the Joker from the 66 to 68 Batman, also joined by the Julie Newmar Catwoman. Never seen them on the table before. And everyone else being brought, despite being like noted criminal superhero supervillains, they're all henchmen, and they can all be brought in the crew, and they'll all get the benefit of his Chaos Agent Trickster. We have a Racer, Killer Moth, Signal Man, Condiment King, who has been given the Poison Master upgrade, so that he really knows how to poison people with that horrible mustard. We have Mr. Camera, who is the newest release. He isn't much of a fighter, but he can do some blind, and he can do hypnotize from suspect markers within 8 of them as well. Now, Calendar Man. Calendar Man's actually probably the most efficient person here. He's got like a double stun taser on him, and he's been kitted out with some funding. He's been given neurotropic drugs, he's been given a grapple gun, and he's been given Joker gas, so he can unleash Joker poison and enervating gas around him if he gets surrounded by too many people. And I think that covers everything, and they will be using the black and yellow markers, which are a bit reflective, but there we are there. So as usual with the Two-Face crew, there's not much to talk about because all his funding is eaten up by the various guns he's allowed to bring on his standard henchman, although he did bring the Vote for Harvey Dent banner, whatever it's called, to increase his Inspire radius to 12. Spice is coming along as his sidekick. Then we have the two new reinforcement henchmen. We have Big John here, and then we have, what's he called? The other one is called the Hitman, the one leaning against the wall there. Then we have an assortment of his gangster-themed thugs. Specifically, we have gangsters 3, 4, 6, and 7. Which is which, we may never know. And they're going to be the red markers today. So, we'll see how their new teammates do. The Hitman does some benefits if a model within 8 of them takes someone out. Big John's kind of just like a beat stick, someone you can send in there. We'll see how they do. So we are set up and good to go. The Joker crew is to your right and will be taking first activation. Two-Faces on your left. Both crews have the same number of miniatures, 8 each. We have a couple of cards to cover, but first of all we are going to show who has Audacity, etc. Just as a reminder, for Joker's crew, his henchmen don't need to have the Audacity assigned. It's just showing the initial intent, but when a different henchman activates via the Trickster rule given to them by Joker's Chaos Agent, they can just take the Audacity. It's just for ease of viewing, it's kind of showing the intention. But obviously, if you're playing not on camera, you can keep your Audacity markers to yourself until you activate them, as long as they're a henchman. Anyway, Joker's crew is playing Let's Dance. So if the Joker or Catwoman get attacked this round, that will score for 2. Not as much of a chance when your crew is filled with goofy looking henchmen. And literally 0 chance of scoring at present. The Balance of Justice is being put into play by Two-Face's crew because he's started on the good side of the coin, and it will only score on the twisted side. But it's getting out of hand to start that cycling. So, if we look at where the crews are, Joker's crew, Joker himself, Cesar Romero down there with Audacity, Mr. Camera's next to him, Condiment King is next to him with Audacity, Calendar Man is up here with Audacity, touching the sewer grating, deployed a little bit further back to stay out of range 4 of that light. Then stretching over here, we have Catwoman, Signal Man, and Eraser, and then up here with Audacity, we have Killer Moth. And then if we come over to the Two-Face side, we'll just come all the way around here. 2 of his gangsters here, including the new Hitman with Audacity here. Another one with the Winchester. Two-Face himself with Audacity. The Sniper's up here on the roof, touching the sewer grating. No Audacity. Spice has Audacity. I think that's Tommy with a Tommy gun, if I remember correctly. Has Audacity, and then Big John does not, because he's got to get into close combat before it's worthy, or he's worthy of an Audacity marker. So that covers it. Let's get the game started and see how things play out. So it was Mr. Camera who got the game started. His special power is that he has a camera for a face. He moved up not even his full 8 inches because he wanted a little bit of cover from this rubble here. He used the Inspired Manipulate from Joker though to put down a suspect marker, and you see there's a counter on it because It's a bite the dust, so there's some explosive teeth down right at the start of the game. It'll move towards whoever finishes activating, and it was a 5 that was rolled, so at the end of the 5th movement it explodes, and as long as it hurts someone, friend or foe, the card will score for 2. And then both people discard a card from their hand at random. Gangster 3 activated for Two-Face, and that was the man right next to the man or mans himself. Without Audacity, he just moved up 8 inches and then used his boss's Inspire to get a manipulate action, to also put down a suspect marker, and to receive the right colour of activated token because the wrong one had been placed on Mr. Camera, but has been corrected now. The explosive teeth then move towards him a whole 1 inch, which does not bode well for Joker's crew if it moves a lot towards his side of the table. Well, it was the man himself, the Joker, who activated. Cesar Romero Joker. He doesn't move that far, he moves 8 inches, so he moved in behind the tree here. We're going to have to come around a little bit, unfortunately. There we are. And he put down a suspect marker, and then at the end of his turn, the teeth moved 4 inches, so it's in base to base with him essentially. But that was after he put down the suspect marker, so that's why they're right next to each other. It's a fairly run-of-the-mill Joker. I think he's the cheapest Joker in the game at 60 rep. Doesn't really offer any kind of unique playstyles like the 3 Jokers or anything like that. He's just a cheap and cheerful way to get Chaos Agent on the table, basically. One of these days he's going to have to go up against Adam West Batman. Gangster 4, who was down here next to the Hitman, activated. He moved 8, and then using his boss's Inspire, got a manipulate action to put down a suspect marker. You'll notice that there's a counter on that, and that because Closing Argument was put into play. As long as you're on the good side of the card, play this card when a friendly model places a suspect, roll 1d6, and place the numeric counter equal to the value rolled on 2 friendly suspects are within 4 inches of a sewer or lamppost. They are both within 4 of that sewer ring, and it doesn't say it has to be different ones. Any subsequent model's activation reduce the numeric counter by 1. If both suspects are still in play when the counter hits 0, you score the card for 3. Then, the exploding teeth, unfortunately, move towards him 5 inches. It's got 2 ticks before the big boom left to go on it. So the middle of the table just got a lot busier looking, but let's quickly cover who actually activated. It was Eraser, who is behind this building here. Part of the reason Joker moved where he did was so that Eraser would have his Inspire, because he was within 8 as the crow flies. So he came round here, his 8 inches, into base to base with the friendly suspect marker the Joker put down. He revealed it and turned it into a big explosion for let them do their thing. You reveal a friendly suspect marker, choose a direction, move it 2d6, and any models underneath it where it ends up suffer double stun, and if it does damage to any model, it scores. Sadly, 2 2s got rolled, so it only moved 4 inches. Wanted it to come quite far over here, hit this cluster of henchmen here, maybe even get as far as Two-Face. It popped where you can see it, hit literally no one, doesn't score. The teeth then moved 1 inch towards Eraser, so it's got 1 tick left. Those have also ticked down to 3. Well, in an effort to make sure that the exploding teeth don't score, Big John activated and just moved up. He's 8 inches as well, standard movement for most henchmen. No Audacity, no Inspire either, even with the increased range from Two-Face. He just moved up and stopped right there. The teeth moved 5 inches towards him and thus explode where you can see them. No point getting the marker out, it's not going to hit anybody on either side, so that card is also discarded. Condiment King activated with Audacity. I think other than the Joker, that's the first one on his crew with Audacity to activate. He moves 10 inches as well, which let him come round here. He then uses tactical action as a manipulate to put down a suspect marker, except it was not a suspect marker, it was a stinky fish. With the first It Doesn't Look Fresh in play for the game. He didn't do anything to stop Two-Face with the closing argument counting down though, so after Two-Face's next activation it is just going to score. So the other new reinforcement henchman for Two-Face activated, the Hitman, didn't really get to show off what he can do this turn, but he had Audacity, moved up 8 inches. For a special action he used Concealment, which quite a few characters have. It means he needs to be, or you need to be in base to base to actually attack him now, so he's very stealthy. He put down a suspect marker, and regardless of what he did in his turn there, as just stated, closing argument ticks down to 0, so has scored. That's actually the first card of the game fully properly scored. For Two-Face's crew that's a little normal, but not so much for Joker's crew. They've been getting a little bit unlucky. Julie Newmar Catwoman was up next for the Joker. No Audacity though, so she just did a move action. She has 12 inches, but opted to use like 9 of them, give or take. She's hiding on the little corner there. She has Don't Mind Me, so as long as she hasn't done an attack action, she gets free efforts. She's not an acrobat though, I don't think, so that's partially why she hid behind the building there, on the off chance a stray bullet comes her way. Two-Face's gangster with the Tommy gun, who is not Tommy with a Tommy gun, that's the other guy who has a Tommy gun. This is Luigi. Luigi has a jacket. That's how you know the difference. He did have Audacity, but there wasn't really anything for him to do, so he simply moved up 8 inches, and from there he might be able to fire at someone next turn. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Killer Moth was up for the Joker's crew. He was on top of that building there. He made use of his back claw and shot down onto the roof down here, still staying above ground. Used his tactical action to put down a suspect marker that has become another set of exploding teeth. We've just saw this, so I'm not going to read it out again. But this one rolled a 5, so we're probably not going to see the outcome of it in this turn. And it does carry over between turns, because I don't think there's 5 activations left. But let's see. So we're staying over the XXX bar side of the table here because Spice activated. There's 2 activations left for Two-Face's crew after her. She moved up her 10 inches and, for her special action used Menace. So if anyone wants to attack her, they've got to use 2 actions rather than just a tactical action. She put down a suspect marker there though because it met the scoring criteria for to make this better. Good side of the coin, place a friendly suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy model and have at least one other friendly suspect marker within 4 inches of a different enemy model. If we do a flyby to the other flank of the table over here, the one the hitman put down is within 4 of Condiment King, so that has scored for 2. Second last activation for Joker's crew, Signal Man, and using Trickster given to him by Chaos Agent from Joker, he snatched the Audacity marker from Calendar Man and is making use of it. He moved up and then he used a tactical action to attack with his expansive knockout gas. It's expansive, it's gas, does double stun. If it manages to crit, it does 3 extra stun because it's got blunt 3. Yeah, it's mechanical, so it just needs a 3+, and presumably it gets round Menace because Spice was not the target. You just placed the template. So Big John managed not to be affected by it, and Spice and Luigi down there with his Tommy gun did get hit by it. No crits though, it's just 2 stun each. It's worth pointing out, if she did have to use 2 actions to still hit Spice, he didn't use his special action, so it could have been used up to do that as well. Oh, and of course we forgot to move the explosive teeth both for Spice's turn and Signal Man's turn. It moved an inch towards Spice and then 6 full inches towards Signal Man, so it's in base to base with him with 3 ticks before the boom to go. So the man himself, Two-Face, activated with Audacity, and you'll notice that he is nowhere to be seen. That is because he wandered his way up to the sewer grating there and then manipulated it in order to travel through the sewer system, and he popped himself out right up there because of reasons. Oh, we didn't roll for the teeth again. It's going to roll 1 inch, just rolled out there, 1 inch towards him, so it's barely going to move from where it is. So Calendar Man was the last activation for Joker's crew up there on this building here. No Audacity left to be given to him. He simply manipulated the sewer grating to pop himself out over here in base to base with this Two-Face thug. A couple of things to mention about Calendar Man. He has a trait where he gets different buffs based on the total score of victory points in a given turn. That is going to be tallied, it's going to be kept a record of, it's not going to be mentioned on camera, neither is the buff he's getting, because if you're familiar with him you'll know how much the points are adding together based on the buff he has, just so that there's a surprise at the end when you hear the final scores. So it is something that's a mechanic for him, but for the purposes of making more entertainment, it's not going to be mentioned. The other thing though to note is his neurotropic drug upgrade that was bought for him from funding gives him fast and dodge. This is the first battle report filmed since they changed how fast works in the app, so just a quick mention of that. Fast now has a value, much like reach. Most models or most things in funding that give you fast is fast 2, but the wording was also changed so that fast can be activated when any model finishes an action. So in other words, say Calendar Man did a movement action, he could then say I'm now proccing my fast, and then he gets another 2 inches. Or say, I don't know, say the gangster up there on the roof, say he finishes a move action to walk to the edge here to look down and see Calendar Man to shoot at him. When he's finished that move action, Calendar Man could say, I will now use my fast to move 2 inches and hopefully get out of line of sight. So fast is a lot more tactical than it used to be now, because it can activate on any action, not just the friendly action. All the old Eternal Speedsters have fast 4 as well, which is really good. So it was Two-Face's sniper on the roof that was the final activation for the turn, and you might have expected him to walk to the edge of the building to have line of sight on various targets for next turn. But no, in order to score cards, he is instead simply manipulating the sewer grating here and popping out where Calendar Man was. And that is going to bring us to the scoring for the first round. Oh, after the teeth moved twice, of course, forgot about that, so we're going to quickly do the teeth. Alright, so the teeth moved 5 inches towards Calendar Man, which put it roughly there-ish, and then it also moved 5 inches towards the final Two-Face thug, moved back this way, explodes right there, so Joker and Eraser got caught by the explosive teeth. They both take 1 blood, but that does mean that scores for 2 in this phase, so now we can go to scoring. So at the end of battle round 1, it was a little bit of an abnormally low scoring turn for the Joker crew. A couple of cards did not work out, but there's plans in place for a very effective round 2, I believe. Speaking of cards in play, let's cover Two Faces first. Balance of Justice couldn't score regardless because wrong side of the coin, so it's just discarded. However, they are scoring the Gamble, which it really was a gamble with who they sent over there. Good side of the coin, have 2 friendly models who are not KO'd inside the enemy deployment zone and are in contact with 2 different scenery elements. He's obviously inside that building. You know what? Two-Face was meant to come out of that such that he was touching the building there, so he should be over there. That was just a mistake. So he is touching that building, apologies. So that scored for 3. That was the plan, just forgot they had to be touching scenery elements. For the Joker crew, the Stinky Fish does score for 2, but Let's Dance does not, because, well actually Joker was hit, but only by himself, and it does specify enemy action. So that is also discarded. With that, let's go into round 2, where both teams have their plans come to fruition. So we are all set up and good to go for battle round 2. Joker's crew is retaining first activation. They actually have 2 people with Scheming 1, but it wasn't needed. And that's down to one of the 2 phase 1 cards they played. They played Joker's Unique, which is Showtime. A 1 was rolled for the 1d3, so you add on 2, becomes 3. That's how many enemy suspect markers within 18 of him he draws in to base with him. It ticks down from 3 at the end of each subsequent activation. When it hits 0, as long as at least one of them is in contact with him, it scores for 3. So he stole the suspect marker from here, and the one that Spice put down. They have all been put into base with him in this very awkward section right here, and they'll tick down from 3. The other phase 1 they're playing is the Moth signal for Killer Moth. Choose a scenery element that's within 4 of a friendly model and at least 8 outside your deployment zone. You have at least 1 friendly model and a friendly suspect within 4 of that scenery element. Killer Moth himself is being selected, and the scenery element in question is this the thing there that picks up crates I'm blanking on the name of. But that's the scenery element because the building itself is too close to the deployment zones on either side. Oh, and we can take a quick look at who has Audacity. Of course, the Hitman does, the Gangster with the pistol does for Two-Face's crew, Big John does, and Spice does, so the man himself does not. Economy King does for Joker, so does Killer Moth, so does Signal Man, although again this is subject to change, and so does Calendar Man. So, first activation for Joker's crew, coming right up. So it was Condiment King who got battle round 2 started for Joker's crew. He moved his 10 inches all the way over here for a special action used Gunman, so when he does a ranged attack he's allowed to do another one. And he expended all of his poisoned, is it the mustard or the ketchup that's poisoned? Either way, he used both loads, which I hadn't phrased it that way, but he used both loads. One on this gangster, got him for 2, poisoned him. And, oh, they're assault weapons, both his weapons are assault weapons, so he can move and fire at full rate of fire, just with a -1, which is what he did. Got the Hitman for 3 with a crit, so he's also knocked down, as well as poisoned. Does put himself in a little bit of a precarious position, but plans within plans. So the recently poisoned Gangster 4 is his name, activated with Audacity. He moved to the far side of Calendar Man and put down a suspect marker rather than trying to get some retribution, and that was so a second closing argument could be put into play. Unfortunately, a 5 was rolled. Same 2 suspect, well, one of the suspect markers got removed. The one he just put down, plus the other one that survived, have been the 2 that are marked. There is a Sir Graying right underneath Calendar Man, so that's why it's acceptable to play. It does give Joker a lot of time to counter it though. Killer Moth activated, and he has a built-in radio, so he actually has a free Inspired Manipulate, which he then eventually at the end of his turn used to put down the suspect marker required to work towards scoring his card. But before moving, he fired his solid shot from his cocoon gun into poor Luigi and got him real good. It should have done 4 stun, 4 blood, but that would have knocked him out, so he made use of Hardened to... Oh, actually, does that ignore the 1 damage, or is that the one that converts? I always get that confused. Change the type, yeah, it's Convert. So he converted 1 of the stun to 1 blood instead, so he's alive and conscious with 1 willpower and 1 endurance remaining, so he'll at least maybe get to do something, but Killer Moth at present has also filled the criteria for his objective card. So before something horrible befalls him, Luigi activated. Also the wrong colour of damage icon was used to show that there just now when Killer Moth attacked him, so it looked like it was self-inflicted. Whoops, should have been yellow. but the correct colour is on his card now. Anyway, he doesn't have Audacity, so all he did was shoot his Tommy gun into Signalman, and he whiffed. Only the strength that got through. Honestly, it should have been enough to kill him, but just the strength that went through. 2 blood, 1 stun. And also forgot to mention, upon the completion of Killer Moth's turn, Showtime actually scores, so Joker's free to move away now if he wants to. That has scored for 3. The man himself, Joker, activated and snatched an Audacity marker from Signalman using Trickster. He then abandoned those suspect markers, because again, doesn't need to be there anymore. Got into base-to-base with the gangster here who's poisoned, and threatened to stab him. He's only got a single blood, sharp knife, doesn't even have poison on it, he's not much of a fighter. Attack 4, defense 4 as well. Anyway, he efforted 3 times, so did the gangster. All said and done, the attack roll was bad, and just the strength I got through for 1 blood. So that gangster's up to 3 blood of his, I think he has 5 health or 6 health. 6, yeah, 6. Well, all the way over there on his lonesome, Two-Face activated without Audacity, so he stayed where he was and shot his Tommy gun, his very powerful Tommy gun, double blood, single stun, at Signalman, losing a die for the cover provided by the car, but got him good for a total of 3 hits for 6 blood, 3 stun, and that is enough that Signalman's days of signalling people are over, because he is a casualty. Now that did kind of play into Joker's hand though, because, pardon the pun, your expendable has scored. A friendly model with the Trickster trait, which Chaos Agent gives to all the henchmen, is removed as a casualty or becomes KO. When this happens, both players discard a card at hand, in their hand at random. So that scored for 1 on the loss of the first miniature on the table, and with that it's over to Joker's crew. Mr. Camera activated without Audacity but close to Joker, so he moved over and used that free inspired manipulate from his boss to remove the suspect marker that had been there with the gangster, which does mean with 1 tick left to go, closing arguments does not score and is discarded. So a bit of a time waste activation for Two-Face's crew next to the sniper on the roof. He just moved to the edge of the building to give himself line of sight next time. He had no Audacity, he doesn't want to move and shoot anyway. No cards played either. Simple activation for Eraser. Followed on from that one, he was amongst the trees without Audacity but right next to Joker. He moved over here and used that manipulate to put down the second stinky fish of the game. The hitman began his turn on the floor, so he had to stand up, and then finished his movement by getting into base to base with the Condiment King. He's got handy blood stun steel torture tools, and he efforted 1 time to attack Condiment King, who did not effort at all. And it was a pretty bad roll. It would have been worse had Time Bomb not been used as a resource. Immediately after you make a dice roll, change the result of one of the dice to match another die in the same roll. This was used to make the strength die a 6, which is presumably allowed, such that it's now a crit and that it got through for 1 blood, 1 stun, and knocked Condiment King down. Now unfortunately he did end his turn right next to him, and Condiment King has been given the Poison Master upgrade via funding, so that's going to make his poison roll harder to pass. So Calendar Man activated and tried to make use of his double stun, mechanical crit stunned taser on the gangster he was in base to base with. All said and done, only the strength die got through, not even with the crit, which was below par, especially because he efforted once. So then he moved over here and then used his free inspired manipulate from Joker to remove the enemy suspect marker to score the secondary scoring conditions. For so long, it's been a guess. When a friendly model reveals an enemy suspect marker, choose one of your models and place a friendly marker in contact with it. In both cases, the chosen model in both cases suffer innovating too. So actually, Cameraman is also going to have, or Mr. Camera, sorry, I'm the cameraman, that's Mr. Camera. Mr. Camera is also going to have innovating too. Well, freeing up that Two-Face thug was a real bad idea. He activated, he stayed still, he fired his high caliber triple blood gun point blank into Joker and hit him for 2 of the 3 potential hits. 6 blood, and with the self-inflicted 1 blood from an explosion earlier in the game, that's actually enough that Joker is dead. So he is gone and out of there. Well, thanks to Signalman being murderized, Catwoman is the last activation for the crew formerly known as Joker. She didn't have Audacity, so she just shot down here her 12 inches and stopped right there amongst the trees. So for Two-Face's crew though, Big John still hasn't activated, and Spice, I believe. So we can cover those final 2 activations. Big John moved up 8 inches, didn't do anything else really. Well, he technically could have put down that suspect marker of his own volition, but he actually got ordered to do it by Spice after she moved up with him to there. She also fired her little derringer into Mr. Camera's back, and only got him for 1 die for 2 blood, which is better than nothing, I suppose. So now into phase 4 for scoring, and we'll see if any other cards are being played. So then about round 2, models have started coming off the table, and both poisoned models who were on the table, one of which had 1 less die because of being near Condiment King with that poison training upgrade that gives him Poison Master, failed their tests. So he's taken 1 more damage, and so has the Hitman. Of the cards in play, both the Joker ones score. The Moth Signal has scored because Killer Moth did what he needed to do in the turn as discussed, and the second, It Doesn't Look Fresh, also scores for 2. The Two-Face crew is putting another phase 4 into play. It's another The Gamble, scored by the same 2 people. The Sniper and Two-Face himself, and they're both inside enemy deployment zone. Actually, you know what? Him walking forwards there might mean that he's not quite there. The plan was that he was supposed to be in it, so if need be, he'll be over here. It was just a slight misplacement, but it will score for 3, because honestly Two-Face needs the help. So with that, let's jump into the third battle round. So here we are at the top of battle round 3, and Two-Face has finally managed to snatch first activation against the former Joker crew, now led by Catwoman, the Julie Newmar Catwoman. There's only 1 card being put into play and it can't even score. It's phase 2, the Balance of Justice from Two-Face. Twisted Side, an even number of models is removed as casualties this round. Still track it though, because it's possible he'll turn to a Twisted Side mid round. In terms of, I was going to say suspect markers. In terms of Audacity, the Hitman has it for the Two-Face crew, as does Spice, Big John, and Two-Face himself all the way up there. For the Joker crew, Killer Moth has it, Mr. Camera, Calendar Man, and Catwoman. There we are. So the penultimate round did get started by the Two-Face henchman that was up here inside the Joker deployment zone, repositioned so that he is actually in the deployment zone like discussed, because that was the plan all along. No Audacity, so he just stayed where he was and shot his Winchester rifle, or whatever, bolt action rifle, into the back of Eraser's head, which I'm not sure would actually hurt him because it's made of rubber, but whatever, and managed to do 2 shots through, which is the most it can do, for 6 damage, and just took him out instantly. And also, prior to that, should have covered, Heads was played as a resource, and on the good side, when a friendly model performs a ranged attack, place a friendly suspect in contact with the target. Now it doesn't say ignoring normal distance between suspect markers. That's one of those situations where it's unclear, so just put it down. Killer Moth went first for the Joker crew, activating his back claw again and zooming down here into base to base with an enemy suspect marker, which he did eventually use the radio to get an inspired manipulate to remove. But first he fired his cocoon shot into the Luigi, the gangster over here. It's only left with 1 normal die, 50-50 chance of succeeding thanks to, well actually no, 3+, sorry. He got him. It would actually be -6 because it's slow 6, but don't have an icon that goes up that high. But the point is, when you revealed the suspect marker, it was within 4 inches of 2 models suffering status effects, because we have the gangster down here that's poisoned, so that met the criteria for Condiment King's card. Reveal an enemy suspect marker, that suspect marker must have at least 2 enemy models within 4, each with at least 2 different effects. Actually, now that I read that, they each have to have 2 different effects. Each with at least 2 different effects. Actually, yeah, so that would not score then, because they have 1 each. Thought it was 2 total. Well, he's still doing what he did, because we can't undo that now, but that actually does not score. That's a really tough card. Two-Face activated, and his 8 inches of movement gave him just enough to get into base to base with Catwoman down here. Now she has Don't Mind Me, I think was previously mentioned. Because she hasn't attacked yet, she gets her full effort limit for free. So she had 3 efforts. Two-Face put in 3 to counter that, and all said and done, she fully blocked his attack. He managed to do nothing with his reinforced gloves. Very disappointing. So Catwoman activated, decided to run away a little bit because the Joker crew is a little short on manpower now. She got amongst all the suspect markers here and revealed the one that had just been put down there. I don't remember by who. Either way, scored another So Long It's Been a Gas, the second criteria. And then Condiment King was forced to put down a friendly one and is now also suffering enervating 2. The poisoned gangster with a pistol there activated for Two-Face next. He hasn't fired his gun, so he just unloaded it into Mr. Camera's double blood and managed to get 3 hits through for 6 blood. So poor Mr. Camera is Mr. Dead. During his turn, he played another Heads or Heads as a resource for 1 point, again to put down a suspect marker with the target. There it is there. And then during his activation, he also played as an objective card 2 faces of the coin. Good side, at the end of the round, have an even number of friendly suspects in play. With that one being placed back down, I believe they currently have an even amount with 4, but we'll see at the end of the round. Well, Calendar Man activated and made a hasty, well I was going to say retreat, but really he charged forwards just away from where the battle was happening, down here to put down the last stinky fish of the game, trying to secure a bit more points. As long as the Joker crew doesn't let Two-Face's crew suddenly fly away with points, I think they've got it in the bag. Well, Big John activated used Unstoppable as a special action, so each of his hits requires a 2 to block. And he has Overwhelming on that pickaxe of his, which is blood stun, sadly. It would be really good if it was double blood. Which means -1 to defense rolls as well. So he went after Killer Moth. They both efforted 3 times. That's very reflective. Apologies for that. But only 2 hits got through for an additional 2 blood, 2 stun. So he is still on his feet and no cards scored there. Last activation in the turn was the Condiment King, and he had no audacity. He was on the floor as well, so he suffered impaired movement to stand up, and then hobbled his way over there, didn't do anything else with his turn. So there's still Spice and Luigi, I believe, left to go. Oh, and him, but he needs to reload, so he'll just move. So Two-Face's crew actually has 4 activations left. We're going to cover 2 of them real quick. The Winchester and or bolt action rifle, whichever rifleman it is, he's reloading without audacity, so he just moved to have line of sight down there for the final turn. And Luigi, he was -6 to his movements. All he did was hobble backwards a little bit. Again, didn't have audacity, so he didn't do anything else. But yeah, Spice needs to do something. She's probably going to go after Killer Moth. But the Hitman also hasn't activated. So Spice did indeed go after Killer Moth with her blood stun whip. He could not effort anymore because he only had 1 willpower left. She did twice just to secure the hit. Managed to get 3 hits through for 3 blood, 3 stun. He's still alive, but he is knocked out. So over here with the Hitman, he made use of the concealed rule on his gun he's carrying, which isn't on his person. You have to effort twice to be able to fire it, which he is just able to do because he has 3 blood on him, which reduces his effort limit to 2. It's double blood, high caliber, reload, all the usual stuff the Two-Face guns have. He shot it into Condiment King, got 3 hits through, and the Condiment King is now spraying people with ketchup and mustard in the afterlife, because he is also dead. And that does take us to the end of the penultimate round. So at the end of battle round 3, Killer Moth has not woken up, so his game is over. The gangster with the pistol passed his poison roll, but the Hitman did not, so he's taken 1 more point of blood damage. Of the cards in play, the Balance of Justice does not score because it wasn't on the twisted side, so it's just discarded. 2 faces of the coin does score though. They have an even amount of suspect markers on the table, so that's scored for 2. For the Joker crew, which is really, really thin on numbers now, they're down to 3, and 1 of them is unconscious for the rest of the game. But their Stinky Fish does score, so they have scored 2 points there. And with that, we can move into the final round. So here we are, dawn of the final day, the top of battle round 4. However, there's something we need to cover, because I didn't realise when the Hitman took another point of damage from poison, that was actually enough that he's dead. So he got finished off, which means at the point at which that happened, there it is there, this seasoning the mix can score for a poisoned model being removed. So that has scored for Joker's crew. Just realised the cards are not over here that are needed, because there's a phase 2 being played by the Two-Face crew. Again, needs to be the twisted side, but hey, why not? The Balance of Justice is once again in play. That's the only card being played, and it is the Two-Face crew taking first activation, of which all of them are still on the table, although a few of them are very badly hurt. So the turn got started with Two-Face himself activating for his crew and putting the twisted side of the coin finally into play. So that's in play now. He moved, he chased after Catwoman. She's still getting full efforts for free because she hasn't attacked anyone. He efforted 3 times. He only managed to get 1 hit through. She's only defense 4. She's not the stereotypical defense 5 Catwoman. He just can't get her. So unfortunately he's basically wasted his turn. Well, feeling like there was very little choice, Catwoman activated and used her sneeze bombs on Two-Face. Actually just realised, could she have done that? Because she was in base to base with him. Let's see, could she have done that? They are medium range, and if she moved and fired, they would be unable to be used. So actually no, she couldn't. What she could have done was used her catnip claws to do hypnotize. The goal was to get a stats effect on him, just to score I'm feeling weird. Sneeze bombs don't do any damage. They do scared and slow too. But if she moves, she can't fire them because the rate of fire 1. So she just wants to get out of dodge anyway. We'll come back with the result of a combat first, because she might as well attack him first before running away, and see if she can get that hypnotise effect on him. Nope, no damage done there, so instead she has just ran away for her turn. There wasn't anything else she could have done to score anything anyway. Well, this was a bit of a heck of an activation. The gangster in front of you here activated without audacity. He stayed still. He didn't fire last turn, he fired the turn before that. So he split his shots. He put one normal shot into Killer Moth. It hit him for 3, so he's dead. I actually would have done 1 extra blood because he was unconscious, I think. Either way, 3 was enough. He put the strength die in the other shot into Calendar Man. Both of those hit him. Those went through for 3 damage each. Calendar Man is dead. And he has scored as a result Spice's card. Twisted side of the coin, a friendly model performs an attack targeting at least 2 models and inflicts damage on at least one of them. Didn't even need to kill them both, but he just got a double kill. So Catwoman's the only person left on the table for Joker's crew. Whether or not anyone will be able to get over to her, or if it matters, we'll have to see, because now it's just, is there anything Two-Face can do to score anything? Because if not, the game is over. So looking at things as they stand, there is no further ways for the Two-Face crew to score anything. If Catwoman had been next to a Two-Face suspect marker, Time Bomb could have been used to potentially get a score there, but she isn't, so it's not possible. All that remains is the Phase 2 in play, the Balance of Justice, which does score because an even amount of models. Doesn't need to be enemies, it's everyone. Models were removed as casualties this round, so that also means there's no point chasing her down to finish her off. So we're just going to call it there and see who's won. Well, I said before we'd be seeing who won, but it's more like we're going to see by how much the Two-Face crew lost. Let's start with their score. So 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 points. Not bad. You know, ideally you want like 20 to 25, but 18 plays. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Honestly, close. Much closer than usually you would think it would be with the Joker crew. They didn't do as well as expected. They didn't get the cards they really needed to get early on, and the Two-Face crew did a really good job murdering them and kind of denying cards as a result. Such that although it wasn't a massive scoring game, there wasn't much in it. What was that? 2 points difference? 3 points difference? So pretty close, all said and done. If a couple of them had stayed alive longer for that final turn, they might have been able to score like the I'm feeling weird and whatnot, stretch the lead a little bit more. Doesn't matter though. They got their win with their goofy Cesar Romero costumed henchman list. Didn't expect it to be fantastic, for the record. Just wanted it to be a little bit silly. And that's what it felt like against the murder power of Two-Face's guns. It's just a shame his objective deck sucks. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And consider going above and beyond if you want to show support, above and beyond support that is, by considering taking a look at the Patreon, or becoming a member on YouTube, or pressing the thanks button. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Ta for now.